St. Catherine South Commanding Officer Superintendent Christopher Phillips is encouraging residents of the Gregory Park community to partner with the police to create a safer community. Now, this comes as operational activities in the Gregory Park area have intensified in recent days to include the imposition of a curfew, which has been extended to tomorrow, December 22. Now, sometime after 1 a.m. today and mere hours after the announcement of the curfew extension, the police were conducting operations in the Walker's Avenue area when a Remington shotgun and 6 12-gauge cartridges were recovered. The discovery was made close to the entrance of an abandoned house. No arrests were made in connection with the find. However, investigations are ongoing. Superintendent Phillips said that the security forces will continue to increase operational activities in the Gregory Park and other areas across the St. Catherine South Police Division. He is imploring the citizens to cooperate with members of the security forces as they seek to restore order to the Gregory Park area and surrounding communities. In other news tonight, the St. Andrew businessman and his wife, who were today charged with several fraud-related offenses, have been granted bail and given a January 6, 2022 date to appear in court. The pair, John and Donna Levy, were charged in relation to a series of incidents that unfolded between February and March 2021. It is alleged that Levy illegally transferred a motor truck from a company he previously worked for to one owned by himself and his wife. While the incident was under investigation, Levy also reported the same motor truck as stolen, allegedly knowing that it was in the custody of the police. Levy will answer to the charges of forgery, fraud as a director, conspiracy to defraud, simple larceny, creating public mischief. And his wife Donna was charged with conspiracy to defraud and receiving stolen property. In other news, a taxi operator of Savannah Cross, Clarendon, is the latest victim of gun violence in the central parish. The deceased has been identified as 36-year-old Jermaine Patterson, otherwise called Twillie, who was fatally shot by unknown assailants in his community last night. Reports from the Maypen police coming into our news center are that at approximately 9 p.m., Patterson was outside a business establishment eating when armed men pounced upon him and demanded his vehicle. It is alleged that Patterson entered the vehicle and attempted to drive away when he was shot in the head. He was assisted to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Still making the news tonight, as of tomorrow, December 22, commuters will be able to access the Transport Authority's TA's Travel Pal application app to make their public transport safer. Here is Kelleen May with the details.
Transport Minister Robert Montague says a newly launched Travel Pal application will allow citizens to push back against the criminal activities of some illegal taxi operators. The app launched yesterday, Minister Montague said, will enable commuters to use their mobile devices to scan the registration plates of units used as public passenger vehicles, PPV, and verify if they are licensed by the Transport Authority.
But I am happy this morning, overjoyed, that we can be here to launch the Travel Pal app. What's the Travel Pal app? From time to time, we hear of people being abducted, people being robbed. And many times, people are abducted, robbed, raped. And they don't talk. They don't report it. Because they say it don't make sense. The police have had many instances where people have called that they know their relative took a taxi and they can't be found. And you hear the news report, taxi driver abducts single female. Taxi driver have taken 4 single females away and in a robbery spree and all of that. But when you do the investigation, most of the times, these are not taxi drivers. They are robots. So we are going to put into the hands of Jamaicans a weapon. Not a weapon of mass destruction, but a weapon to even the scales, to allow the ordinary citizen to push back against criminality. So when you download TravelPal on your phone, the moment you're at a bus stop and a taxi comes along, you input the license plate and the app immediately tells you if this is a licensed and registered operator. First thing it tells you. So if it is not a licensed and registered operator, is your first warning, no go in there. Go in there on your own.
Minister Montague also said that the app will have a panic feature linked to the police 119 system that will be launched soon.
The next thing happens, if once the man is legitimate and you go into his vehicle, automatically the app dials and sends a text or a WhatsApp to two numbers that you would have inputted in the text. So two relatives or two friends will be alerted that you have entered into this particular taxi and your GPS location is sent to them as well. And the tracker comes onto your phone and they can track your movement. So there is that sense of safety. Now there's a very important feature that is not yet operational on the app, and that's a panic button. And the reason we have not activated that is that there's an MOU that must be signed between the Transport Authority and the Jamaica Constabulary Force. And while the MOU is complete, the lawyers have to review. Once you're in the vehicle and you feel unsafe, you'll be able to press the panic button and the police will respond. And let me tell you, our police, our JCF is the best in the business and the best in the region.
Minister Montague said the app, which was developed at a cost of $2.3 million, is intended to equip users of public transport system with the tools to protect themselves as road fatalities have been increasing, especially during the holiday season.
151 deaths have occurred on the road this year, ACP Mackenzie, of persons who were driving after the curfew hours. You cannot blame the government for that. That's personal responsibility. So I'm making the appeal, and we have been making the appeal day after day, week after week, and people just ignore it because every year the numbers, the fatality numbers keep going up. So we have to change gear. We have to change track. And that is why we have introduced the testing into before you can get a learner's learner's license. We have introduced a simulation into the process of getting a license. And we have introduced driver ed in high schools. So we have to, it never happened overnight where we are. So it's going to take a while to make the correction. But in the meantime, we still have to appeal to people to take time on the road, especially during this season.
Managing Director of the Transport Authority, Willard Hilton, said the development of the TravelPal app gives commuters instant access to a high-tech travel assistant right at their fingertips that will support their decision-making by selecting public transportation that is safe and reliable.
With the invention of the TravelPal application, this gives commuters instant access to a high-tech travel assistant right at their fingertips that will support their decision-making process when selecting public transportation that is safe and reliable. The Transport Authority is pleased to participate in the development and execution of the TravelPal application, which we believe will revolutionize the transportation sector to one that is reliable and orderly and also safe. I invite members of the public later on this week, those of you who use the public passenger vehicle system, to go to the Google Play Store and to download the app and use it. It will be worth your while.
The app was developed by Amber Solutions and is supported by eGov Jamaica Limited. Reporting for MELLO TV News, I'm Colleen May.
Thank you, Colleen, for that report. Continuing with the news, opposition leader Mark Golding is urging the government to subject criminals who commit predial larceny to the rules of the Proceeds of Crime Act, POCA. Mr. Golding made the comment in relation to the brutal killing of two goat farmers in Grange Hill, Westmoreland last week. The two reportedly went missing shortly after leaving their home in Crowder District with over 60 goats to a section of Mint Road in Grange Hill. The bodies of the men were found the following day with gunshot and stab wounds. Their hands were also bound. Approximately 60 goats remain missing. Mr. Golding says predial larceny should be considered a serious offense. POCA was passed by Parliament in 2007 to replace the Money Laundering Act. It allows for the investigation, identification, and recovery of the proceeds made from criminal activities. Dr. Dayton Campbell is defending his party's decision to host what's being described as a listening tour at a time when the country is bracing for a fourth wave of COVID-19. The PNP has been criticized for a series of posts showing crowds of maskless party faithful gathering in Westmoreland. There was little physical distancing. The party's general secretary says there has been no mobilization of supporters for these events. With a potential fourth wave of the virus looming, many persons have criticized the PNP's tour as irresponsible and dangerous. But Mr. Campbell, who is a medical doctor, says his party has been abiding by the existing protocols. We go now to tonight's COVID-19 update. The country's positivity rate stands at 4.6% as of yesterday, with 38 new cases and 1 additional COVID-19 death, increasing the total confirmed cases to date to 92,127, with a total of 2,450 fatalities. The deceased is a 79-year-old male from St. Mary. Meanwhile, of the new infections, 22 are females and 16 are males, ranging in age from 2 to 90 years. In tonight's COVID-19 parish breakdown, St. James and St. Mary recorded 7 cases each, Kingston and St. Andrews 6 cases, St. Thomas 5 cases, Manchester recorded 4 cases, St. Elizabeth recorded 3 cases, St. Catherine, Trelawney, St. Anne, Hanover, Portland and Clarendon recorded 1 case each, while Westmoreland has no cases on record for the period. In the meantime, there were 296 additional recoveries, increasing the total of recovered persons now to 64,300. As we continue with the news tonight, we have created nearly 100,000 jobs in the past 12 months, says Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark. This while he was speaking at the Hughenden Division Annual Long Service Awards ceremony for political workers in Marvelly yesterday. Here is Kelleen May with the details.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says despite the COVID-19 pandemic being the biggest economic shock the world has experienced, the Jamaican government has been able to respond in a very positive way in supporting the vulnerable and the healthcare sector while keeping the economy going and thriving.
COVID is the worst crisis that any government in Jamaica has ever faced. COVID has led to an economic shock. That is the deepest economic shock that the country has ever faced. Yet look how we have been able to respond.
Yes.
Look how we've been able to respond.
Brilliant.
We have been able to respond with the resources for the health sector. We've been able to respond with resources for the vulnerable, and we have been able to keep the train running. That has not always been the case, and it's certainly not the case in many countries in the Caribbean region, where they're struggling to recover from the impact of the pandemic. The good news, we know that we need a lot of jobs in Marvelly. Yes, we definitely do. But the job growth in the country is very encouraging, and it holds hope that we can eventually be successful in attaining our job too. Over nearly 100,000 jobs were created in the last 12 months.
While speaking at the Hughenden Division Annual Long Service Awards ceremony for political workers in Marvelly yesterday, he further explained the importance of everyone getting vaccinated against COVID-19 virus.
If you want to go foreign, you have to vaccinate. If you want job, you have to vaccinate. Yeah, vaccination is not just protecting you, It's protecting your neighbor and your brother and more importantly, your grandparents. Right? So it's very important to make sure that you're vaccinated.
Reporting from MELLO TV News, I'm Colleen May.
Thank you, Colleen, for that report. And that's our news package for you tonight. Thank you for tuning in to MELLO TV Evening News at 8. I am Shelly Ann Hill. Do stay safe and pleasant viewing.